Two of the most feared creatures in world mythology, united in a single being of unimaginable power. Vampires and werewolves, ancient predators that have dominated the world for millennia, possess a secret few are aware of: the existence of hybrids between these two supernatural species. What happens when the power of the moon and the dominion of the night merge into a single entity? Get ready to find out. This video will explore the fascinating history of vampire-werewolf hybrids across different cultures and eras, analyzing their mythological origins, physical traits, and supernatural abilities, as well as historical accounts that may have inspired these legends. By the end of this video, you will not only uncover the dark secrets of the rarest and most powerful supernatural creature ever conceived by humanity, but also gain a deep understanding of how two seemingly separate legends intertwine throughout history to create a being of unimaginable power. Prepare to unravel mysteries that few have dared to investigate. The origins of vampire-werewolf hybrids date back to ancient oral traditions in which shape-shifting creatures already displayed mixed traits across different parts of the world. In civilizations such as Mesopotamia, there are records of nocturnal demons who drank blood and could take on animal forms, establishing early connections between these seemingly distinct natures. The first signs of specific hybrids appear in obscure Eastern European texts, where peasant tales spoke of beings who combined lunar transformation with vampiric immortality. In medieval Europe, stories emerged of nobles who, after being cursed as vampires, developed wolf-like traits during the full moon. These tales often involved dual demonic pacts, or complex curses that fused the characteristics of both creatures into a single being of devastating power. The Roma, gypsies, preserve oral traditions about the children of the moon and night, rare creatures born from a vampire who attacked a family already cursed with lycanthropy, resulting in descendants carrying both curses. Meanwhile, in the Americas, following European colonization, syncretic legends emerged, blending European folklore with indigenous traditions about shapeshifters and blood drinkers. In Mexico, for instance, there are stories of hybrids that combined the ability to transform into animals with the traits of local vampire traditions, who primarily fed on children. Vampire-werewolf hybrids are often described as human-like beings capable of assuming various forms, combining the most lethal traits of both progenitor creatures. In their human form, these hybrids usually display slightly elongated canines, eyes that change color depending on emotional state, impressive physical strength, and supernatural agility, even without transformation. Their skin is described as paler than that of regular humans, though not as corpse-like as pure vampires, maintaining a body temperature lower than normal humans, but not as cold as traditional undead. Subtle signs such as accelerated nail and hair growth, increased sensitivity to sunlight without full vampiric vulnerability, and irises that reflect light like those of nocturnal animals help identify them. During lunar transformation, which occurs not only during the full moon as with traditional werewolves, but also during specific other moon phases, hybrids develop impressive physical traits. Unlike pure werewolves, who generally take on fully lupine or humanoid wolf forms, hybrids maintain a more elegant and controlled appearance, with defined muscles, upright posture, though they can move on all fours when needed, sparser fur, and a less pronounced snout. Their claws and fangs grow significantly, surpassing both vampires and traditional werewolves in size and durability, capable of piercing materials as tough as steel and concrete. Their eye color during transformation usually exhibits unique combinations, such as red with yellow or icy blue with amber, reflecting the duality of their nature. This intermediate form allows them to retain consciousness and reasoning during transformation, unlike ordinary werewolves. In terms of supernatural abilities, hybrids display an impressive combination of powers from both species, often enhanced by the synergy between them. From their vampiric lineage, they inherit relative immortality, accelerated healing, superior to common vampires, supernatural strength that increases with age, hypnotic and mental domination capabilities, heightened senses, and in some cases, psychic abilities such as telepathy and telekinesis. From their lycanthropic heritage, they retain a connection to the moon and its cycles, physical transformation, though more controlled, impressive resistance to physical damage, extremely heightened senses, even greater than pure werewolves, and an instinctive bond with animals, particularly predators. This combination results in creatures with superhuman reflexes, capable of moving at speeds that render them virtually invisible to the human eye. The feeding habits of hybrids represent another fascinating aspect of their physiology, combining the vampiric need for blood with the werewolf's carnivorous appetite. Unlike pure vampires, they do not rely solely on human blood and can also feed on flesh, particularly prey hunted during transformation periods. Blood consumption, however, remains essential to keep their powers at peak performance, especially during and after transformations, which demand considerable energy. Some accounts suggest hybrids can absorb life energy directly from their victims during attacks, a process described as soul consumption in certain medieval texts, allowing them to survive longer without nourishment. This versatile feeding trait offers a significant evolutionary advantage over their pure counterparts, granting them greater adaptability to diverse environments and circumstances. The Gothic literature of the 19th century planted the first seeds of the modern concept of vampire-werewolf hybrids, albeit indirectly. While works such as Dracula by Bram Stoker established the defining traits of the aristocratic vampire, and The Werewolf by Frederick Marryat solidified aspects of the European werewolf, lesser-known tales already explored the possibility of beings with dual natures. The short story The Vampire-Werewolf, published anonymously in 1883 in obscure periodicals, is considered by scholars as the first explicit literary reference to a hybrid, describing a Slovenian nobleman cursed with both conditions after betraying oaths made to both the moon and the forces of the night. In the 20th century, this archetype developed more significantly in horror and fantasy literature. Nancy A. Anne Rice, although best known for her vampires, suggested in lesser-known works such as The Tale of the Body Thief, 1992, the possibility of vampires acquiring lupine traits through ancient magic. The Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton, launched in 1993, revolutionized the concept by establishing complex societies where hybrids held unique positions in supernatural hierarchies, often as outcasts, or alternatively, as feared leaders due to their exceptional strength. These works significantly contributed to defining the social dynamics, internal conflicts, and narrative possibilities involving hybrid characters. Cinema and television profoundly transformed public perception of vampire-werewolf hybrids. The Blade film series, 1998, 2004, introduced variations of hybrids, including the protagonist himself as a half-vampire with traits approaching a complete hybrid. On television, series like The Vampire Diaries and its spin-off The Originals developed the character Klaus Mikaelson, an original hybrid who triggered a lineage of similar creatures, exploring the complex dynamics of power, loyalty, and internal conflict among these beings. These visual portrayals solidified specific hybrid traits in popular culture: uniquely colored eyes, usually blending vampiric red with lupine amber, more controlled and less beastly transformations, and abilities surpassing those of either progenitor species. Setting aside supernatural films and series, there are real historical events that may have inspired legends about vampire-werewolf hybrids. Porphyria, a genetic condition that causes extreme sensitivity to sunlight, prominent teeth due to gum retraction, and a need for blood replacement. When combined with hypertrichosis, abnormal hair growth on the body, or clinical lycanthropy, a delusion in which the patient believes they are transforming into a wolf, created individuals who simultaneously exhibited traits associated with both supernatural creatures. Medieval documents, particularly Inquisition reports from the 15th and 16th centuries, describe doubly cursed creatures that displayed both vampiric and lycanthropic behavior, often associated with outbreaks of unknown diseases in isolated villages. These descriptions, though exaggerated by superstition, likely referred to individuals with rare combinations of medical conditions that, in the eyes of medieval populations, appeared to be supernatural manifestations. In 16th century Poland, local chronicles describe the Beast of Warsaw, a supposed nobleman who assumed a lupine form and attacked travelers to drain their blood, explicitly combining elements of both legends. The famous case of Peter Stump, the Werewolf of Bedburg, executed in 1589, included accusations not only of transforming into a wolf, but also of consuming the blood of his victims, a typically vampiric trait. Military and medical reports from the 18th century, a period of growing rationalism in Europe, continued to document cases that, through a modern lens, could explain the persistence of hybrid legends. During the Napoleonic Wars, Russian units stationed in the Carpathians reported encounters with creatures described as werewolf men who drank blood, likely local individuals affected by severe malnutrition causing cannibalistic behavior and rabies, transmitted through wolf bites, a disease causing hydrophobia, extreme aggression, and spasms reminiscent of transformations. Austrian doctors documented cases of pathological blood consumption in patients who also exhibited lycanthropic delusions during full moons, now attributed to psychiatric disorders, combined with photosensitive epilepsy influenced by lunar cycles. These medical records, although misinterpreted at the time, provide a historical foundation to understand how the idea of hybrids developed from real cases. The social organization of hybrids, according to the most consistent legends, differs significantly from the structures established by both traditional vampires and werewolves. While vampires typically form hierarchical nests or covens based on bloodline, and werewolves organize into family-structured packs, hybrids tend to exist as solitary individuals or in small, non-hierarchical groups called coalitions or vigils. This tendency toward isolation is explained by both the rarity of these creatures and the mistrust they face from both progenitor species, often seen as aberrations or threats to the natural balance. When they do form groups, They usually consist of 3 to 7 individuals who establish bonds based not on hierarchy, but on complementary abilities and mutual protection against external threats. Hybrid territories are characteristically vast and often include remote regions that allow for both hunting and safe refuge during transformation periods. The life cycles of hybrids exhibit fascinating characteristics that blend aspects of both species in unique patterns of longevity and development. While they inherit vampiric potential immortality, they are not completely immune to the effects of time, aging extremely slowly rather than remaining eternally frozen at their transformation age. Naturally conceived hybrids go through an accelerated childhood and adolescence, reaching physical maturity around the age of 7, but continuing their mental and emotional development for decades. Transformations typically begin during puberty, initially involuntary and extremely painful, becoming progressively more controlled as the hybrid learns to balance their dual natures. Full maturity of their powers is typically achieved only after their first century of existence, when the balance between vampiric and lycanthropic heritages stabilizes, allowing transformation at will regardless of the lunar phase. Feeding and hunting represent ritualized and complex aspects of hybrid existence, combining the pragmatic need for nutrition with deep cultural and spiritual meaning. Unlike vampires, who often develop fixations on specific victim types, or werewolves who hunt primarily out of necessity, hybrids develop elaborate hunting rituals that honor both the vampiric predatory elegance and the lycanthropic primal connection to nature. During these events, they pursue worthy prey, often predators such as bears or other supernatural beings, in hunts that can last several days, culminating in the consumption of both the flesh and blood of the prey in rituals that reaffirm their unique identity. Outside of these ritual periods, they maintain more discreet feeding patterns, alternating between stored animal blood and smaller game to avoid drawing attention. The reproduction of hybrids represents one of the most mysterious and rare aspects of their existence, surrounded by taboos even within supernatural communities. The means by which new hybrids arise vary significantly among different traditions. Some claim that only naturally conceived hybrids between a vampire and a werewolf are true, while others acknowledge the possibility of transformation through elaborate rituals involving simultaneous exposure to both types of supernatural infection. Natural conception is extremely rare due to the basic biological incompatibility between species, occurring only under specific astrological alignments, or when both parents possess particularly ancient and powerful bloodlines. Hybrid pregnancy is described as exceptionally dangerous, lasting only 3 months and severely draining the mother, often resulting in death for human mothers and severe weakening even for supernatural ones. These reproductive difficulties explain the extreme rarity of true hybrids in the supernatural world, contributing to their position as legendary creatures, even among other mythical beings. The vampire-werewolf hybrid functions as a powerful metaphor for contemporary anxieties related to fragmented identity and belonging, representing the modern individual divided between seemingly incompatible worlds. In Western societies characterized by increasingly fluid and multifaceted identities, these creatures resonate deeply by embodying the struggle to integrate contradictory aspects of the self. The vampire as a symbol of refinement, intellect, and control, versus the werewolf representing instinct, emotion, and primal connection to nature. Contemporary anthropological studies identify how the growing popularity of these hybrids coincides with the rise of hyphenated identities in multicultural contexts, where individuals navigate between different traditions, expectations, and communities. The ability of these beings to transition between different worlds, human, vampiric, and lupine, reflects the experience of people who simultaneously inhabit multiple cultural, social, or identity spaces, making them powerful symbols for generations that reject binary classifications. They are the reflection of an era where being just one is no longer enough, where being multiple is necessary to survive. And perhaps more than fearing them, we should learn from them, from their ability to navigate between worlds, to exist on the margins, to transform weaknesses into strength. They show us that integrating opposites may in fact be the greatest form of evolution. Now tell me, which side speaks louder in you? The rational shadow of the vampire, or the wild instinct of the wolf? Or maybe you, like many, are finding your path in the midst of it all as a true hybrid of the modern age. If this video made you reflect, leave a like, share it with that friend who also carries monsters inside, and subscribe to the channel, because here, the night never ends, and the stories we tell are made to echo into eternity. See you in the next dive into the supernatural. Until then, creature of the night,